You're watching Reality Check. India's new information technology or digital rules have now appeared to be raising global red flags, with a UN watchdog actually saying that these rules are raising serious concerns. India's digital media rules have been brought to attention by the Office of the Human Rights Commission of the UN, which says the new rules don't meet global standards. The worry is that the government could end up playing mega censor because of these rules. The UN rapporteurs have flagged this big brother fear. The government has strongly rebutted the UN body, saying that it consulted all stakeholders before passing these rules. But is the government's consulted all claim being debunked by RTI data? Just 2 seminars and 1 meeting. That's all the RTI appears to have found about what consultations took place. Let's just run you through each of the sequence of this escalation of friction over the new IT rules. These are the special rapporteurs with the office, as I mentioned, of the UN Human Rights Commissioner. The statement on 11th June 2021 was written by Irene Khan, Clement Wool and Joseph Kanatachi. Now, they say India's rules don't appear to meet standards of international law. The law may result in limiting or infringing on human rights. They say we encourage the withdrawal or review of this law. They say a rigorous definition of the restriction of freedom of expression is critical. They say that the law will ensure that the new rules may have a chilling effect on the media. We worry, they say, that intermediaries, these are social media intermediaries like Twitter and so on, will now over-comply with takedown requests from the government. We worry, they say, that the new rules may provide authorities power to censor journalists. Essential that the oversight mechanism should be an autonomous body, according to them. Now, India's permanent mission at the UN has rebutted this statement on the 11th of June as well. They say the government undertook broad consultations with various stakeholders. The concerns alleging curbs on freedom of expression are highly misplaced. Rules designed to empower ordinary users of social media, the government says. The new IT rules are because of concerns over abuse, the recruitment of terrorists, the spread of disharmony, financial frauds, incitement of violence. India's democratic credentials are well recognized. But RTI, filed by The Wire, the online news portal, appears to be refuting the government's claim. According to the response, what were the consultations? The government only provided information about 2 seminars and 1 meeting. Only this mentioned in the RTI reply. The RTI, as I mentioned, was filed by The Wire, seeking details on how the new IT rules were framed. The government simply replied, seminars were held in Mumbai and Chennai in 2019, and then the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting met officials of OTT platforms, over the top, as they say, platforms like Netflix and so on, once in 2020. And in fact, ironically, in the seminars, some former judges who attended it actually spoke more about the importance of self-regulation as opposed to government regulation. All right, let's go across now to panel. We're joined by Justice Deepak Gupta, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. We have Arima Sundaram as well, Senior Lawyer, Supreme Court. Dushyant Dave, also Senior Lawyer, Supreme Court. And Manu Sebastian, Managing Editor of the portal Live Law, which reports on legal proceedings and the judiciary. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let me first just go to Justice Deepak Gupta. Justice Deepak Gupta, if you've been following at all this debate on these new rules and the kind of reactions it's generated, now it seems to have actually raised global red flags. You know, the UN special rapporteurs raising these concerns. India has come out with a very strong response, but as the RTI finds, there's no clear evidence that consultation has taken place. Is this now becoming a matter of concern?
Well, definitely, because I thought consultation must take place. In fact, I was part of a bench which passed an order on 24th September 2019 when Facebook had challenged an order of the Madras High Court. Personally, Srinivasan, I do feel that there are certain portions where we do need regulation. It's not that regulation is not required.
Of course.
see, regulation is required. Tomorrow, you and I could be trolled. There could be some defamatory material about the two of us. So I am not so much in favor of this saying that if we can encrypt, we can't decrypt. If you have the capacity or the intelligence as well as the technology to encrypt, then you must have the capacity to de-encrypt. Why I say that is, tomorrow if you are trolled and you want to know who's the originator of the person of the troll, you should have it. Similarly, when it comes to issues of security of the state, etc., I do feel that it may need. So regulations, in fact, we had ordered, Justice Anirudh Bose and I had ordered that they should look into regulations, but they should be consultation. You can't have a one-sided law at all.
Right.
See, now as the regulations have been framed, it gives too much power to the executive to decide what is right and what is wrong.
Right.
What I would feel is, one, I can understand where something really security of the state and something very, very important is involved, that maybe somebody in the government can decide. But the way we have been seeing the misuse of the sedition law and 153A and all, it really worries me that anything you say will be said to be against the security of the state.
Right.
They now equated the state with the government and the state with the government with the party.
Right.
So then it cannot work. So I'm not saying that there's no need for regulation,
but you're saying that it has to be balanced, and it has to be it can't be too one-sided. It can't be Big Brother. That's the concern.
Definitely not. We can't bring back 1984.
Right.
We don't want to live in an Orwellian regime.
Right.
And I feel that an autonomous body, if they had an autonomous body, even if the government has a complaint, then if they have a complaint, they go to this body and the body will decide whether this tweet or this post, I'm not so media savvy, so I may be using the wrong terminology sometimes. I'm neither on Twitter nor on Facebook. So,
just as well probably. But yes.
Whatever the content is,
yes,
whether it should be removed or not, it should be an independent body deciding.
Fair enough.
It should not be secretary. And if you look at the rules,
right,
it says, but then it says he can delegate his powers to somebody else. Then they can nominate any. If you really go through this, some SHO can be given a power to decide whether this has to be taken down or not.
In fact, that's already. In fact, let me also go to Dushyant Dave, Justice Gupta, because if you permit me, because that is actually already happening, Dushyant Dave. You're actually just seeing in the case of Twitter itself, there have been so many FIRs filed, so many notices sent, Ghaziabad police, UP, different wings of the UP police. So, as Justice Gupta was saying, it's not about the fact that, of course, one should have oversight. Social media companies aren't above, due diligence. But it is who has got the power of the oversight and what is their intention. Is the government genuinely interested in a free and fair playing field, or is it just become a case of enforcing the danda when it doesn't suit your agenda?
I'll give you a little funny example. With greatest respect to Justice Gupta, whom I have great regard for, that it's all right for us to say that there should be some kind of a control. Nobody says that terrorism can be supported. I'm one of those who strongly believes that terrorism must be contained with all the powers that we have at our command. But real terrorism, not some imaginary terrorism. Take, for example, if somebody were to send through post a letter which is scurrilous, which is defamatory, which is inflammatory, which is seditious,
right,
sent to the recipient. Are we going to say tomorrow that post department should screen every letter and that post department should be held responsible for transmitting that? It's ridiculous to, these rules are completely nonsensical. They are incapable of being implemented as they are. They have given billion-plus citizens a license to complain against one and sundry. And the intermediaries and their platforms will only be now looking into these complaints received by them in thousands every day and trying to respond to them. And if they are unable to take action and take any response, as government likes them to be, then they will be liable to be prosecuted. The rules violate privacy law. The rules violate Article 21. The rules are wholly arbitrary. And certainly are not in consonance with the international standards, as has been rightly pointed out by the UN body. Most of all, what really troubles me, only last week on 13th of June, Prime Minister participating in G7, group of leaders meeting, spoke very strongly against authoritarianism in the world. And his own government every day acts more authoritarian than any democracy has ever seen. Now, you can't just allow these kind of a nonsensical rules to come in. You say that some kind of a consultative process took place. In fact, government appointed Justice Sri Krishna committee. They drafted a beautiful law. And the government doesn't even follow that law. So, I think whichever way you look at it, the rules are very serious, inroad on the right of citizens and their well-being.
Sure. So, Aryamasundram, that's the whole point, that, in India's response to these UN rapporteurs, they say India's, respects all the institutions of democracy, robust practices, etc. But if you look at what's happening on the ground, when the government says these rules are supposed to contain hate and the fomentation of animosity and so on, you have a ruling party that itself is deeply invested in stoking exactly these sorts of divisions on social media. And you only attack or criticize when you find that the counter narrative is gaining ground. That's when you file FIRs, that's when you send a raid team to raid the offices of Twitter. So, does that cast the government's actions in bad faith, quite apart from whether the rules are tenable or not?
Srinivasan, look, I'm not bringing politics into it. It's very easy to bring politics and say this happened, the earlier government had quota, something else was there. So, I'm not bringing politics into it. Let's come down to what are the basics. Here is a body which is refusing to regulate itself. I mean, when you're on the receiving end of something like this, you won't be singing the same song. The fact is, this is a body. Today, the social media feels so arrogant that they feel there is no need for self-regulation. They are the masters of everything. They can decide themselves. You are talking about a regulatory body to decide it, or a different body to decide whether to have a body, a nodal body. But the point of the matter is, that why are they objecting to it? They want to be the decision maker so that it can be exactly as they want. Let me finish. I have something very important to say. The point is, lack of self-regulation has unfortunately led to these regulations. If there was good self-regulation, we would not have had these regulations. Now, these regulations having come in, what is being said? Now, I'll deal with what Justice Gupta said about the kind of delegation of powers. That I tend to agree with. But I'm on a different point. When something like this happens, when there is an act of terrorism, when there is an act of clothing, and so many of these acts which are despicable and which, for all we can say about freedom of speech under Article 19.1, don't forget Article 19.2, which restricts on the ground of sovereignty of the country, integrity of the country, incitement to violence, defamation, all these grounds there can be a restriction. Now, what is being done today is to say, look here, when there is any post, when there is anything which is coming, a tweet which is coming, which violates one of these laws, then we want to know who originated it.
Hold on a second.
I see nothing wrong in that.
No, hold on. A couple of things here. Okay. You have to allow me to come in. First of all, when you say, when I'm at the receiving end of it, trust me, as a journalist, I'm at the receiving end of a lot of it. Perhaps more than you can even imagine. So I very well know what it's like to be abused and trolled. But that's very different from how it's actually playing out. When it comes to matters of national security terrorism, look, that's a clear-cut, is an extreme but clear-cut example. There can be no debate or no truck with that. But look at what actually led to the government sending a team of the Delhi Police Special Cell. These are the police that deals with terrorism, anti-terror squad, to the Twitter office. Why? Because a tweet by one of their leaders had been labeled as manipulated information. That was the consequence. So
but that is why you have a judiciary.
Well,
that is why. Now the point of
it is, hold on.
You can't throw a law out
because
someone has misused it.
If everything is going to go to the judiciary,
correct them. Don't throw the law
but
out.
I'm saying something else, Mr. Sundaram. Hear me out. I'm not saying do away with these laws. like the UN experts pointed out and so many others have, if you are not self-regulating, okay, you can have government set up a regulatory mechanism, but it can be robustly independent of the government. It can have that arm's length, and this law doesn't allow for that. That's a problem, is it not?
And it must have, Srinivasan, it must have guidelines, very specific guidelines. Not that anything and everything can be objected.
Don't criticize the law. Tweak the law to see the delegation has guidelines. That's all we have to do. And that's what Justice Deepak Gupta said. But what is Twitter saying? They are saying, sorry, we don't want to be regulated. Sorry. To ask us to divulge who the originator was is an affront on privacy.
They are saying they don't want to be regulated under the existing regime.
Twitter's case.
Okay. Let me bring in Manu Sebastian, Managing Editor, Live Law. Manu, correct me if I'm wrong, but a number of, because this not just covers Twitter and others, or what are called OTT streaming, this also applies to news, digital media, portals like yourself and others, some of whom have gone to court. What are your concerns, and how do you view now the government's response to this, to the international rapporteurs? Does it cut any ice?
Right, Srinivasan. So there are a lot of things to say, but I'll start with one thing which the government omitted to say in its reply to the UN watchdog. So if you see the reply, there is no mention about digital media or the part of the rules which are governing the digital media platforms. And this is despite the fact that the UN body, the UN agencies had specifically flagged concerns about the rules infringing media freedom. But the government in its reply chose not to make any mention about the parts concerning digital media. I don't know whether it's by default or by design, but the fact is that the government lacks the power, the statutory power to regulate digital media by exercising the rule-making power under the information technology rules. That is very clear. So if you go by the plain text of the Information Technology Act, the Act does not even talk about digital media. So you have no power to regulate digital media through this rule-making exercise.
Okay.
And this is
about, okay, you're on the technicality of whether the government has jurisdiction or not. But now that the rules have been made, and you know, you challenge them, let's see what the outcome of that is. But what about these rules as a digital news media outlet? What is it that is concerning you? What worries you?
Right. First of all, this is not a mere technicality. This is something which is striking at the very root of the legal power. Anyway, fine. I'll come to the effect of the rules, assuming they have the power. You see the structure of the rules. The rules are creating a three-tier mechanism for grievance redressal. Firstly, you have the media, all the media platforms. They need to appoint a grievance redressal officer. Then you have a self-regulating body, the so-called self-regulating body. And after that, there is an oversight mechanism by an interdepartmental committee, which comprises only of the members of the ministry.
Yeah.
So this is in effect an executive oversight of the media content. Okay. And the government is given vast powers to delete or to order the deletion of content, modification of content, and it can even pass ex parte orders to block access to digital content.
Okay.
And there is no power, there is no independent adjudicatory body, there is no power for judicial, there is no autonomous body. So the government
so that is the worry. Okay, that is the worry. All right,
Dushyant
Dave, but coming to the point that Arima Sundar making, he's saying don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. There is need for oversight. If the rules are not perfect, tweak them. What in your view then would be a more realistic and a less problematic set of guidelines then?
I ask one question to my distinguished friend Mr. Sundaram, for whom I have great affection and regard. Is there any such rule to control electronic and print media today? Do you know the amount of hatred that certain section of media generated following Nizamuddin Markaz, virtually calling the entire Muslim community walking terrorists? No action was taken. This has been happening again and again. The same social media was used to lampoon Mr. Rahul Gandhi prior to 2014 election and every opposition leader. And suddenly now government finds that, oh, it is being used to ridicule the political class and generate hatred. Which hatred they are talking about? The hatred is really generated by the people who are supporting the government. What action is being taken against them? This is nothing but to silence genuine criticism on account of failures of the government.
Okay, but
The whole attempt is not that they want to protect national security. In the garb of national security, sovereignty, or whatever you call,
Okay.
they really want to stop criticism, legitimate criticism that you and I can make, Mr. Sundaram. That's the real problem.
Okay.
And people will just go on filing complaints against all of us. We
Right,
will be
let-
left nowhere. So
let,
I think
let
I
Mr.
think this
Can
is-
I let Mr. Sundaram respond?
just one second.
Dushyant ji,
These
can,
rules are incapable of being tweaked. They have to go whole hog.
okay,
So
okay.
that-
Let him respond. Yes, Mr. Sundaram.
Srinivasan,
But
let
please
me say
excuse me,
one
I
thing.
I told you.
Yes, Mr.
Dushyant.
Sundaram.
follow to my fellow debaters.
Yes, yes, Mr. Sundaram, go ahead.
See, the fact, Srinivasan, I must say that what Dushyant is talking about is one aspect of it, where there is a complete misuse of the law. He is talking about instances where, according to him, the law has been misused. Now, I can show you any number of acts. Those acts, those enactments have a laudable purpose. Those enactments are overall perfectly constitutional.
Right.
Those enactments are good enactments, but they can be misused. Why go so far? Our IPC and CRPC can be misused by the SHO. So these are all avenues of misuse. Now, Mr. Dave is very worried. Dushyant is very worried about the misuse. I'm sure everybody is worried about misuse. And that is
But
why
I
we have a
think- I
judiciary, that is why we have a media, that is why we have voices of Dave.
But-
the fact of the matter I'm saying is,
Yes.
don't throw out the act. You can't say, let's not have this act because people can misuse it.
No, but
The
Mr.
act
I
is
think
necessary.
no, that's a fair
Rules
point,
are
Mr.
necessary.
Sundaram. Mr. Sundaram, there's a fair point, but there's a difference between something which is born out of rigorous consultation, consulting all stakeholders, and it's come out. It may not be perfect, but it's still a work in progress. Here, at every step, firstly, as we just found those RTI replies, there's virtually, according to the government's own records, no evidence of any serious consultation. Then comes this law where virtually every provision has raised red flags. So is this a law which can
I
even
don't-
be
I
modified
don't
or
agree.
amended or
I
tweaked,
don't
or is this a
agree,
law
Srinivasan.
which is fundamentally so problematic that perhaps, as the UN rapporteurs say, withdraw it and come
No.
up with something better?
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you that every provision has red flags. What is required, if at all,
Okay.
is to tweak the provisions as to where you can delegate, to whom you can delegate the power.
Okay.
Who is the decision maker?
Right.
That is where you can tweak the rules. But I
Okay.
can't say it's a red flag throughout.
Okay, you're saying not all red
free
flags.
Free speech in India is not a license. A free speech in India is not a license to kill with words. A free speech in India is not a license to incite terrorism. Free speech in India is not to use your
Sure,
free speech
sure.
to create terrorism, to act against the security.
No one is
of the
saying
state.
it is.
My
But
point
last,
is, if you're
okay.
worried about misuse, have a decent regulatory body. Have an independent regulatory body. All these are different ways of tweaking.
Well,
this
we
does
don't-
not mean all the rules are
we-
bad.
okay.
So there is no red flag against every
Okay,
provision.
well, when you
As
say-
long as it
okay,
is,
Justice
you will
Deepak-
be a regulator
okay,
who
let
will
me-
watch the watchdog.
Okay, let me go to Justice Deepak Gupta at the very end, who's been patiently listening in. Justice Deepak Gupta, of course, we can have a independent regulatory body, and that would be one, but we don't. That's just one of a number of problems with these rules. Justice Gupta.
No, for me, let's see, you just can't distance yourself from what is happening every day. Misuse of law, 20 years back, misuse of the law may not have been thought of as very serious. But today, when you see a law being laws being misused time in and time again,
Yeah.
to stifle dissent or to not hear the other point of view. I
Right.
think the basic thing is, as I said, I'm not so much against this, and I don't agree that every part of 19.2, Article 19.2,
Yes.
has to be given to the executive. I could understand if that said where security of the state or terrorism involved,
Yeah.
that the competent authority may decide on an emergent basis.
Right.
But all other things like defamation or contempt of court, I think our courts are strong enough to handle contempt. If I'm defamed, I can go to court. And so where I agree that the originator of the tweet or the post should be identified,
Yeah.
this thing of just clamping down and stopping everything from being published itself, is wrong. The
Right.
consequences, if it is wrong, yes, where it affects the security of the state,
Okay.
where terrorism is involved, or
That's
where
where one needs to. Okay, that's the important distinction. Okay, it's clearly something which requires a more conversation and more nuance. But thank you all so much for joining me. Completely out of time on Reality Check. Thanks for watching. Good night.